Welcome to the British Masters preview series. I'm Jason, and once again being joined by a fantastic athlete, this time coming from a little bit further away. We have Steph China, all the way from Canada. Steph, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for making yourself available and working out the time difference so I didn't have to. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Steph, I always like to try and build out kind of a profile of the people we're speaking. I've got to ask the question.
It's
I'm
okay.
not necessarily going to ask how old you are, but maybe just which age category you fit into.
It's okay. That's a funny one, actually. Well, I am in the 45 to 49-year-old category. It's funny because Turner, my husband, always says in North America, people aren't afraid to ask women their age, but in the UK, like you do not ask women their age. But in Canada, it seems to be like, how old are you? Like it's not an issue. I don't mind divulging my 47, how old I am. I'm 47.
Yeah, and then I think CrossFit is also having a role in making people not care because they are eager to inch themselves into that next category so they can be one of the young ones and have the edge for at least 5 years. We're talking about CrossFit, so I suppose the next logical question would be, how long have you been doing CrossFit? Where do you train?
hmm I have been doing this will be my fifth year, so I haven't been doing it for that long. I had a whole other life before CrossFit. I used to be a heli ski guide, and I was a raft guide, and I spent my time outdoors guiding, and then I had children, and that kind of threw my life into a different path of just like not wanting to be away from my kids because my job was I was always away. And so after having kids, that's when I kind of got more into I've always loved fitness, and I've always, done some kind of exercising, not CrossFit. And then 5 years ago, my now husband introduced me to CrossFit, and I became a CrossFit monster pretty much. Like I fell in love with CrossFit. It was like kind of everything that I just, yeah, it brought a lot of pieces together for me. And we opened a CrossFit gym in Revelstoke, British Columbia. So we own a CrossFit gym here.
Oh, nice. How long has that been running?
It's been running for 4 years, just 4 years.
Amazing. So you've been doing CrossFit for 5 years, four of which you've owned a box. That's pretty incredible.
Five where I did it in the it wasn't like, I was getting introduced to CrossFit. So it was, I went that year technically was doing it in a basement, just learning movements. And before I did my level one, just trying to get me ready to go and do a level one, and really had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly something's working for you because you're also getting involved in these competitions, which is
Yeah.
great. Uh,
Yeah.
so I suppose maybe just before we ask about the British Masters Championship, what other kind of CrossFit competitions or things have you been involved in the past? Have you done any that are particularly memorable to you?
Yeah, definitely. Like I haven't done very many. There's one in Canada that I've participated in, and then really just because of the restrictions, and last year there wasn't any live competitions. Sorry, 2 years ago. But the biggest one that I guess I've been in two competitions. One was Wadapalooza, which I actually came third, so I ended up on the podium there, which was surprising and exciting because I actually, when the qualifiers came about, I actually didn't qualify. So they took the top 20 women, and I came 25th, but because some people decided that they forego their spot. And so I ended up going, and then I ended up on the podiums, I ended up third. So that was, I think that's when I realized that I have potential in the sport, and it made me even hungrier to keep going and pursue this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of competitions around, and there are people that kind of know every single competition, no matter how small it is, and then there are others that are kind of aware of the big ones. And for years, Wadapalooza has been one of the big ones. So being on the podium there that's a
It
great
was,
accolade to have.
yeah, it's you're there with you warm me up beside Sarah Sigmundsdottir and Sam Briggs, and like definitely a bit starstruck because I just see these people, and they're you it just yeah, they're just their athleticism, just I'm always in awe of their athleticism, and then to see them all there, and then to be a part of that, and then and just the venue is amazing, and the spectators are amazing. Like it is just, if you're going to go to an event, like it is It's in Miami. It's warm. It's really fun. It was definitely a highlight for me. My goal is definitely to qualify for the CrossFit Games, and that has been, especially over these past 2 years, where I started to believe more in myself that I can qualify. So yeah, that's the goal, is to qualify for the games.
I mean, and finishing on the podium at Wadapalooza, I think the games is clearly an achievable goal.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, it's funny because so I'm 47. Yeah, so I'll be 47 this summer. So I'm in that age group. And like, I'm just humbled by these women. Like, they're beasts. Like, I always laugh because like people think, oh, people in my community are like, oh, you're in the 47, you're 45, 49. I'm like, if any of these women came to our box, they would like wipe every man, female, like they would, like the level of the women in the category is unreal. Like, I'm constantly, striving to be better, because there is the level of athleticism is just, it's high. Like, it's not easy. Like, this year I just finished the age group qualifier, and I actually had a bit of a tough weekend. I ended up coming 53rd, so I didn't qualify this year. So another year of kind of learning and just, really exposing some weaknesses again. That's the thing. Every competition that you enter, it gives you a chance to really kind of reevaluate where you're at, and exposes your weaknesses. So it's either you're going to work on those weaknesses and get better, or you're going to, just remain the same. And my goal is definitely to get better. So yeah, it definitely gives me, an incentive for the next 365 days of the year to work on what I struggled with.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying about like these women that are in the masters category and that, and we watch the kind of the RX at the games, and you're thinking, well, yeah, of course they're better than me. That makes sense. They're the tip of the spear. They're the best of the best. Of course, if they came to my box, they'd absolutely wipe the floor with me. And we don't always pay attention to the masters and the teens. And probably the reason is because when we see what they're doing, we'd be like, oh yeah, they'd also absolutely destroy me, and I have less excuses. So I think that's probably something to do with it.
I'm in awe with the teenagers this year. Like, those couple of girls winning, like coming top 3 in the open, like it's mind boggling. Like, yeah, it is.
I think the scary thing with the teens now is that historically they weren't that strong. Like, they were really good with a great aerobic capacity, gymnastics, and it was always like the weightlifting that kind of they just couldn't. And that was always put down to, well, it takes time to get strong. So of course, the more years you have on the earth, the stronger you can get. The weights that they are putting up at the moment is absolutely insane.
And I'm all like, how did they get there? They're 16. Like, when did they start lifting? Like, I've got it. My oldest is 12, and I'm like, do I start training her now? Like, when do you start? When do you start adding that load? Like, they haven't been doing it for that long. But I think for females, just yeah, well, for now, like, we run a CrossFit Kids program, and some, like, my youngest has been doing CrossFit Kids, since she was 6. So, they're just exposed to it so much earlier. And so, and, if that is your exposure, is that your parents do, that's what you see, they definitely, it's growing up, and that it's a, legit sport. So you can go into, like, before it wasn't as mainstream, I guess. And so now kids, if you want to be a CrossFit athlete, guess what? You can.
Okay, so I will keep an eye and see if in future events we have your names popping up in both the masters and the teens category.
That's my dream, really.
Otherwise, I'll assume they're outside somewhere doing something else. So far, this has all made perfect sense. You like being outside and being really active. Family means that, that limits how much time you can just walk away from the house. So CrossFit is it's kind of like the outside inside, right? It's sort of like an outdoor activity, but you're doing it indoors. So that will make sense. Wadapalooza, of course, you're in Canada. Canada may be famously cold. You want to go somewhere hot, sunny, kind of that festival atmosphere. Wadapalooza, that makes sense. The British Masters Championships. That's a long way away. So how did you get involved in this competition?
Well, I've because my husband is from London. He's from Clapham Junction. So when we go to London, we have a favorite gym. We go to Shapesmith, and I met Emma. She's a coach there. And so I just love, like, Shapesmith is like, it's my favorite, one of my favorite places to go when we travel. And so, and then yeah, like I said, my husband is from London. So the British Masters came up and I saw the qualifier and I just decided that, I think qualifiers is a great opportunity to test your fitness. And it was during the lockdown last year and there wasn't anything happening. And so I decided to enter.
And how did that go for you?
I won the qualifier and I won the event. I think I tied for first in the competition, but
yeah. So
and I really
pretty well then.
Yeah, it went well.
And will you be doing at least the qualifiers again this year?
I'm definitely thinking about it. I would love to go to the actual in-person event. Like we don't have any events, and I don't know, it just depends. It's just so difficult to travel as a Canadian right now because there's, you have to, just with travel restrictions and quarantine time to get back into the country. So it's, but I'm definitely thinking about doing the qualifier again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd love to see your name up on the qualifier list, and I think especially as it's only top 6 that will then progress anyway. Knowing that you qualified, but then you couldn't go because of restriction, and that this makes perfect sense. And the last year was all online. This year it's kind of slowly moving back to being in person. Hopefully, in the future years, it will just be things will be easy once again. Who knows? We live in hope. But if you qualify, and even if you can't go and you have to decline your invitation, at least minimum you were top 6, right? Like it's still pretty good. It's not number 1, but if you can get a ticket to Southampton, it could be number 1.
I would love to. I think the event, like last year, the workouts were really fun. Like I really enjoyed the workout. So I definitely will. I had my finger on the button a couple of days ago to buy, and so we'll definitely to register. So I definitely will look into it.
I will make sure Emma knows that I'm the one that pushed you just over the edge to finally actually register. So you're welcome, Emma. You're welcome. I guess my final question then, because you've kind of covered many of the little talking points that I wanted. Curious, I like asking how people have found kind of the masters community and how you encourage one another. And you've obviously experienced it internationally as well. So I just wondered what kind of vibe or push or feeling do you get from being a part and with the competitions you've been involved in and the positions you've kind of gotten to in those competitions, dare I say, a prominent part in these communities?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love the masters community. I feel like I've met a lot of great friends. Like it's hard because in my community in Revelstoke, I don't really have anyone my age that does what I do. And a lot of people look at me as extreme and they're like, why would you do that? And they don't understand, what I do. Like my kids and parents, they just kind of look at me like I'm like this strange woman that, maybe they're a bodybuilder or they don't really understand it. So finding other women in the sport that are my age, not your typical 47-year-old or 48-year-old. And I just like, you automatically have this bond together. And so I have quite a few good friends in Canada. Like one of my really good friend in Canmore that I train with on and off. I try to get together with her. She's 6 hours away, but she made it to the games this year in my category. So she's a really amazing person to train with and get together with. Another one, a woman in Canada, she came first in the Open. She's in the 55 to 59-year-old category. She's another, huge inspiration. I've met one of the British ladies, Becky Knowles. We've just kind of communicated over Instagram and just, I think it's just a very supportive community. We all have, we either have kids in common or we have the fitness in common. And I think it's, when you're juggling more things as a masters than an individual. As an individual, a lot of them get paid to do it. That's their life. But as a masters, you're balancing work, family, life. And so it's a little bit harder.
It's a bit like the way we sort of say that the suffering within CrossFit brings you all together, because even, you know, if somebody scaled the workout, you're doing slightly different weights, you've kind of all attacked that same workout with the same intensity. And at the end, you're like, oh, we've all survived the same thing. And that sort of suffering brings you together. And then as a masters athlete, you're like, yeah, we did that workout, but we also did the school run. We also had to, you know, come in after a full day of work. We did this, we did that. And we, you know, made it to that competition, and we tackled that event together as well. So it's like almost the double combined suffering really brings them together.
Exactly. I just don't think they get it. You know, masters get enough credit for that, because we have so much more on the go. And then we have, you know, we're not putting in 7 hours, but I train 3 hours a day. You know, I'm still putting in that 3 hours, fitting in 3 hours within my day. So yeah, just prioritizing training. And but you won't, and that's the thing, like, you're not, if you don't love it and have a huge passion for it, you're not going to do it. You need to love it. And I still love it. And so when I stop loving it, that's when I'll stop, you know, trying to make it to the games. But for now, it's still, I have a huge fire to go. And I'm gonna, yeah, work as hard as I can to make it there.
Well, I haven't seen you throw down yet, but I have full confidence with the passion you speak about it. I'm no doubt that we'll see you reach your goals. I'm going to say in the very near future. Why not? Let's put it out there. Thank you so much, Steph, for joining me today. I've really enjoyed learning a little bit more about you. I look forward to seeing your name on the leaderboard for the British Masters Championship, and I will definitely be looking for your name on the leaderboard next year during the Open as well. So we'll see how, and I'll be the first to message you when you qualify and be like, yes, you see, it's that interview we did. That's what put you over the edge. Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steph. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see the next couple of athletes that we're going to have on. And I hope to see all of you at the British Masters Championships.